No mai hoki mai e te iwi, and welcome to another episode of Playmakers. Today we are looking ahead to UFC 259 going down this Sunday, and of course we have a few New Zealand fighters on the card and we're going to speak to a couple of them today. Joining me first is the man making his light heavyweight debut, Carlos Ulberg. Kia ora, Carlos.
Kia ora. Hi. Thanks for having me. It's so good to be here in Vegas now that, being able to relax the body and now let the body recover from all the hard, gruesome training. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
Ka pai. Now, let's talk about that a little bit because, traveling with fight camps is not unusual for you. You've done it for your teammates many times now, but this time it's a little bit different because you're preparing for your own fight. So how does that feel?
It's great. I mean, I'm on such a great card, a big card, in fact, a 259, which just looking around now, and it's only just sunk in, looking around, all the other fighters are only just coming in. So there's some big names on this card, and I'm fortunate to be on such a great card and on the main card. So to have a great team, I think we've got about a dozen of our team here who have traveled also from around the world, Australia, Thailand, and all over. And some people from here as well who have joined us as a team. So we're all in big spirits, great spirits, and we're ready to represent. So yeah, these next coming days, it's just more about, I guess, keeping a mental side of things and keeping our mental or cognitive minds at ease and being able to sit down and study a bit now. So all the hard yards are out the way, and we get to sit down and relax a little bit, and eat a bit more, for me anyway.
Yes, must be nice. You mentioned
not for Kai.
Well, yeah, it's hardly going to be like home food, but anyway, you mentioned that cognitive that cognitive aspect of it, because it would be quite easy to get overwhelmed with the occasion, wouldn't it? So, have you been getting any tips and advice from your teammates perhaps about how to approach fight week and the fight itself?
Everyone's different, and I've done this many times in my kickboxing and boxing career. It's nothing different. UFC is kind of nothing different to what I've done before, and I've seen it in the past. And you learn as you go, and each fight goes. And from the beginning of my time as a fighter, I learned, and now I've developed as a person, if you might say, rather than a fighter, and that helps big time. So meditation for me helps to be calm and just to be present and be in the moment, and to I guess explore what I have right now, and just to live what I've got right now. So I'm taking every fight as we go, and it's like I said, I'm just gonna sit down and do all of the study that I need to. Some of the things that I wasn't able to do when I was back home because of the gruesome training, the hard, the things that I needed to go through, and the struggles that I had to go through in these trainings, because the body is just worn down. The body is unable to keep up with the mind. So now that I have this time to sit down and do all that sort of thing, it'll be good for me. So the next coming days is more about just slowing down, keeping calm, and I guess just being content with everything that's going on around me. So as long as I can slow my world down and keep myself at it, it'll be fine.
The other thing that I find really exciting is we've got another, great athlete coming out of South Auckland from Otara, where you grew up. Did you ever think, I know that you played, a lot of sports growing up, but did you ever think that your sporting, dreams and aspirations would get you to a world platform like this?
Well, I always wanted to be an All Black, and I think many kids in New Zealand wanted to be an All Black, and then I wanted to be represent New Zealand, the Warrior as a warrior, and rugby league. So, I knew that in my mind as a kid, I saw everything, and I visualized it all as a kid. I seen my name just in bright lights. So it all comes down to how I visioned myself. So Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but everything's kind of falling into place, and you don't get there without all the hard work and all the struggle and all
Mm.
the sacrifices that you have to go through. Not being able to see family, not being able to do the things that you want to do or travel and all that sort of thing. But I mean, it, I get to travel on the job. I get to meet new people. I get to enjoy um, learning and being able to learning a different craft. So
Mm.
it's exciting for me to be here. And man, I mean, I've always been a fighter. I've always in different ways. I mean,
Mm.
I've always known that this could be my thing. I think from my very first fight, what my cousin says to me, because he was in my corner, my very first fight. This was actually in Otara as well. Um, After the fight, he was like, "Man, Carlos, I think you need to quit league and start fighting." And it wasn't until after my fourth fight where I was like, "Okay, maybe I am good at this.
Mm.
Maybe I should pursue this fight career." And I chose to stop playing rugby league and pursue this. So now here we are, within only a space of, I say, 3 years. It's all happened so quickly.
How much of that has come down to, the people you surround yourself with and the gym that you're with? I know that you've been, been alongside other coaches and trainers and fighters along your journey and, coming on local cards and things over the years. But you found a home with City Kickboxing. You're going to be the 7th fighter to come out of there, represent flying the flag for CKB. So how much of it comes down to that, elite environment?
Yeah, it's a big ordeal actually. Surrounding yourself with the right people, surrounding yourself with. I mean, if I hung out with amazing rugby league stars, I definitely be in that environment
Mm.
and strive to be as a rugby league player. But I decided that I would choose fighting as my career. I hung out with many of the amazing stars in my eyes who are great role models and great coaches and great people. So you learn along the way, and you learn different things, and just not only as a fighter but just as a person, and as people skills, and I've developed my own personality. I've developed me as a person. So yeah, it definitely is a big thing to 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 surround yourself
Mm.
with certain types of people, to certain people.
Yeah.
So
Of course, you're going to be UFC 259, which we've already mentioned. You're going to be coming up against the African Savage, I believe his name is, Kennedy NZ Chuku. But although it is your debut, we did see you explode onto the scene on, Dana White's Contender Series, where you practically destroyed Bruno Oliveira. So after, such an impact made, at first glance, what can we expect to see this time?
well, you can expect to see either the Southside Carlos come out and start swinging some bombs, or you'll see a technical side of Carlos. So I guess it all depends on the night. I'll go in there with a plan, but you can have a plan, and then until you see what kind of reactions Kennedy will have, he will have a plan as well.
Mm.
So I'll see what his tendencies are, but I hope to let the fight go on for as long as it can, so that I can express myself out there, and so that I can show the world what I'm capable of. Because I mean, if I go in there and try to knock him out, the chances are I won't. So I'll go in there and I'll feel it out.
Yeah.
I'll go in and I'll feel it out. I'll get a reaction, and I'll try to create a plan while I'm in there. So um, he's a lot taller than me, and he's got a long range. He's very good. This is why we chose this fight, is because he's a game opponent.
Mm.
And he is very strong as well. So we're not going to take this very lightly, not at all. So he's got very good uh, groundwork. He's a good grappler, and he also has developed well with his stand-up game too. So um, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a great challenge for me. It's a great first fight in the UFC for me. And once I get this over and done with, it'll just be go from there. So it was a very tactical choice for us to take this fight.
Can't play. one last question, and it's a bit left field. Your fight name. I think over the years, I've heard you've come out to a few different fight names over the years. What is it now? And have you, what is involved in solidifying a fight name?
Yeah, I think we've had Ladies' Night, that was my very first
I remember
fight,
that
which
one.
I didn't pick at all. You don't pick your names. You don't pick your fight names. Like, this was given to me by Daniel Hennessy, who is like the main announcer for many of the fights in New Zealand. So he gave me that name, given that I used to do ladies' nights back in the day. So so he gave me that name, and we went with that for a couple. Well, because he was calling out my fights for a long time, so he'd always give me ladies' night. And then we had, I don't know, there was Marvelous, but I think these names all just come from different people, and people just tend to give you names as they come. And we had Black Jag, which was a name that I had as a child, which came back to me as one of my cousins had mentioned. So he was like, "Hey man, remember being the Black Jag?" And so we went with that, and we just continued on with that. So I love black cats, and I love cats, and just it's something that just resonated with me, and just there's more to it than just the name. So
Nice.
So we've just gone along with it. And I think as we go, we'll pick up different names. I don't know what people will have, but who knows? In America, they might just come up with heaps of different names for me. Who knows?
Chances are they will, yes. But Carlos, thank you so much for clearing that up.
Yeah, no, cool. I think Daniel Hennessy had he had Baywatch for me or something as well. So, and I was like, Baywatch, what are you doing, man?
Making you blush when you come out. That's what he's trying to do. But thank you so much for your time, Carlos, and all the very, very best. Can't wait to see you do your thing on Sunday afternoon.
Thank you, Ravinder. I appreciate it. Thank you for the love, and we will represent you all. Thank you.
Now, my next guest today is a man trying his hardest to climb up the flyweight division, and will also be featuring on UFC 259. Kai Kara-France joins me as well from Las Vegas. Kia ora e hoa.
Kia ora. Thank you for having me.
Now, Kai, you're a bit of a veteran in terms of our UFC contingent that, compete on these UFC cards. How is fight week for you, and does the novelty ever wear off?
Yeah, it's kind of like deja vu. I was here not too long ago, and now to be back here, it's awesome, and I'm excited just to get in there again. Avenge this loss that I've been holding on to, and you just run it back. So I've been working on a lot of holes in my game, having this time off since my last one, and fixing those, as well as working on my strengths. So coming into this fight, I'm in the right place. My son was born 2 weeks ago, so it's definitely added fuel to the fire that I need to have going into these big fights. But it's not putting too pressure on yourself, and managing it the best way we know how, and that's why we have our whole team here, City Kickboxing, and feeding off each other's energy, and harnessing that, and making you feel comfortable. And it's been good so far. All settled in. All our tests have come back negative, so that's always a good thing. And we're just this next few days and getting in there on this Saturday.
Now, before I get into the fight stuff with Rogerio, you did bring up Bubs, and I can't help but want to ask you about Bubba and fatherhood now. I mean, flying across the world, becoming a father during your camp, how has that been? And perhaps how does it change things for you in terms of, competing on the world stage now as a dad?
Yeah, it's definitely a blessing, and juggling the birth of my son in my camp, and being not selfish, but making sure that I'm sleeping and training, as well as being there for my partner and for my son. it's definitely hard. So much respect for what women do and what their bodies go through, and just it's just ongoing. It doesn't stop. So I've got so much support around me and around us that I've been able to lean on and get help from. And I've got so many good role models around me. So many good fathers and father figures that give me so much advice, and yeah, it's awesome to have that support network around me. And I was always motivated, being in the UFC and doing what I do. But now, having a family to provide for, I guess I've never felt love like I have now, and I'm so blessed to be able to have a job and do what I do, and being able to fly and go across the world and get in there and represent New Zealand. It just means so much more, knowing that I have a son to be a role model for, and to show him, if you have a dream and you love what you do, just chase it. And I'm just living proof of that. And coming off a loss, I want to show him that you face adversity and you tackle it head on, and you just do it. You dust yourself off and just get back in there and do it. So I've had a lot of fights now. This will be my 7th UFC fight, and I've been in these big pressure fights before. And the best thing is not to put too much pressure on yourself and just go in there and have fun. Best time when you perform is when you're in there enjoying yourself. And that's work that I've been doing with David Neath, my sports psychologist. Stepping into my alter ego, not just being my Kai, who's a son, who's a brother, who's a father, but being the Superman version of myself. And that Superman version can't be touched. So that's where the confidence comes from. And the confidence comes from, the preparation at my gym at City Kickboxing. And we're the best gym in the world. And we're prepared the best that we can for this fight. And I can't wait to get in there.
It feels like we're seeing kind of the evolution of Kai Kara France this time around, coming as a father, the way you talk about that Superman alter ego. Has your perception of the world kind of changed? I mean, you say 7th fight, that that's heaps of experience. So when you compare it to the first time you stepped into the octagon to now preparing for your 7th, has your perception really changed?
I guess it's just made it stronger, and I'm on the right path of who I want to be inside and outside the cage. And I guess having a son just kind of makes you realize who you want your son to grow up and look up to. And I know I've got so many good people around me that I'm kind of just a product of my own environment. And it's such an amazing feeling knowing that you've brought someone into this world, and all he has is you and your partner, and you have to teach him everything about life. So going into this fight, it is a lot to take in, and juggling all these things, but I'm in the right place. And we only have one excuse. So there's one rule in the gym, and that's if you miss training, you can only have 2 excuses, and one of them is the birth of your child, and if it's your wedding day. And I was still at training on that same day my son was born. So that just shows that I'm focused. And I could, when I was holding my son, I could see him saying, Dad, just go to training, I'll still be here. And I still made it to training that day. So I know that I'm doing this for the bigger picture, and there's a bigger sacrifice that's happening, me not being there right now for my partner and for my son. And that just, I'm here for a reason, and I don't take that lightly. And I've always been able to tap into my 2.0, being Māori and being I guess an ambassador for our people, and now being a role model for my son, just reassures that I'm in there for a bigger purpose, and that purpose is to represent the best way I know how.
It makes me feel really happy for you. You just seem absolutely, over the moon about being a father, and your perception of whānau and where you're from. I mean, it all comes into account, doesn't it? As a parent, I have children of my own as well. So yeah, your perception does change. So good on you. I'm really, really happy for you. Onto your, your big event at UFC 259, Rogerio.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, for you yourself, you're coming off a lesson. I won't use the other L word. But what are you expecting from him coming up to this weekend? You know, he hasn't had a fight for a little while as well. Is that kind of an advantage for you?
Yeah, definitely. It's shown time and time again, whoever's the most consistent in the sport is going to be the one that's the most comfortable and I guess not overwhelmed by these big moments and the pressure in the fight. So it hasn't been too long since my last outing, and I can take a lot of positives away from that and lessons that I've learned. And coming into this fight, we've had similar opponents. I've fought a few Brazilians before, so I know what to expect. He's going to come out guns blazing, going to try to take my head off. But we've been doing our homework, and we've got stuff to counter that and to work off. So I'm expecting a fast paced fight, like a usual flyweight fight, and I'm coming into this fight fit and focused, and I know I need to just zone in and make sure that I've got no margin of error, and I'm just going to adapt with every situation and just capitalize on what I need to. So I'm excited, and it's going to be awesome sharing the locker rooms with my teammates Carlos and Izzy, seeing it Carlos's UFC debut and Izzy going up to light heavyweight, fighting at for another title. I've been avoiding them this week because they're fighting at light heavy and they don't need to cut weight, so they're indulging in all the buffets.
Jealous a little bit.
There's one person that needs to cut weight here, and I gotta make my nutritionist work for his money. But it's good to be all here with all our team and just get settled in. And we've just had our first COVID test, all come back negative. So happy days, and smooth sailing so far.
How much does that fire you up? It's one thing when you go to compete in the stage. I mean, you are quite often with other CKB fighters on the cards as well, but you have fought alone before. How much does it fire you up when you get to go in numbers, like in a pack?
Yeah, it's definitely motivating and makes all the difference going in a full army, having all those comforts of home, jamming a 660 while we're hitting pads and everyone's, gassing you up, and you can feed off that energy, and that just makes all the difference. It was funny, last night we're hitting pads and we're just in the hotel room training in our little bubble, and it was just so cool just to look at each other and seeing everyone so sharp and on and feeding off that contagious energy. And then these are life moments that we're going to be having, being able to travel right now and do our job overseas and represent New Zealand, where everyone back home is doing it rough right now, especially in Auckland, where we're all from, and they're all in lockdown, and hopefully they get out on the day of the fight and they get to watch with their friends and family. That definitely motivates us to make sure that we're doing our job right, and it makes us just blessed to be able to do what we do.
Now, you and Rogerio are tied for 8th in the flyweight division. Does a win here perhaps propel you to be able to, get in the mix of the top 5 perhaps?
Yeah, definitely. The flyweight division right now, everyone in this top 10 could beat anyone. And that makes it exciting. When I made my UFC debut, they were saying, how does it feel to have to be one of the last fights in the UFC? And I was like, one of the last flyweight fights. I haven't even started yet. And then now looking at our division, it's one of the most talked about, and it's one of the most exciting. And we've had a lot of controversy, people saying, we're too small and we don't finish fights. But that's not the case at all. If you're a true martial artist and you know about technique, that it's all about stylistics and the technique in the fights. So I think every fight in the last fight night or pay-per-view in the last year, there's always been at least one flyweight getting a bonus. So it's good for our weight class that we've got, I guess, people tuning in and taking notice. And it just makes sense, me and him ranked number 8 tied together. The best way to settle it is to go in there and throw down. So
Ka pai kai, that's us for today. All the very best for this weekend. I know, Mum and Bubs will be watching at home, and we will be so proud of you. So all the very best for Sunday.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your time. And to everyone back home, make sure you tune in. 3-peat. We'll do it for Aotearoa and we can't wait to represent.
At the Iwi, you can watch Carlos and Kai, as well as Israel Adesanya, battling for a light heavyweight title this Sunday afternoon on Sky Arena. Don't miss it.